Our hearts go out to the family members of the fallen officers gunned down by a deranged, maybe demon-possessed evildoer, a black man wanting to promote black justice, black power, revenge against white police officers, etc. But I want to hit the pause button there because enough will be said regarding this man. In today's episode, by the way, we're going to play some interesting news clips from Fox, but I want to jump back, say 50 or 60 years. Now, I'm going to show you that most Americans are in fact racist, according to the politically correct definition of racist, and that profiling is a way of life, the end. All right. So I want you to pretend with me that it's 1950, 1955. You are an African American in Mississippi, and there are regular burnings of crosses, Ku Klux Klan meetings. Maybe it's the 1920s. Pick your era. And there are signs up that say, no coloreds, whites only. But there's a fairly large Klan presence. Every once in a while, you hear about or you read about a young black man who is lynched. He is taken by the Ku Klux Klan and he is hung until he is dead. Now, you're driving in your car, you're walking down the road, whatever, and you see a group of white people, 4 young white men. Are you afraid? Are you nervous? Are you worried that they're going to jump you, beat you, kidnap you, maybe lynch you? Of course you are. You're human. And you know that the Ku Klux Klan is made up of white people. And so you think these 4 white men in their 20s or these 4 white men in their 40s, they might be leaders in the Klan. I don't know who they are, so I answer them, yes, sir, no, sir. I look down to the ground. What that black person is doing in that moment is what? Profiling. And they're profiling because they're afraid, and they're afraid because the history of violence against black men in Mississippi often comes from white men who are members of the Ku Klux Klan. But I don't know who the members of the Ku Klux Klan are because they're wearing white hoods. So, for all I know, none of these guys are in the Klan. Statistically, they probably weren't in the Klan. But I'm a young black man. I'm still afraid of them. I'm a 40-year-old black man. I'm still afraid of them because I don't know if they're in the Klan or not. All I know is that they're white. And because they're white, there is a chance that they're in the Klan. And if they're in the Klan, there's a chance that I'll be dead or injured if I interact with them in a way that they don't like, even if I've done nothing wrong. Now, turn that entire scenario around right now after this horrific shooting in Dallas. So you're a white cop anywhere in the country. And black people have said, posts on Facebook, chatter that they're catching, that law enforcement is catching, that more sniper attacks are coming. More dead white police officers are on the horizon. It's coming. So you're a white cop today, right now, and you see a group of young black men. Are you nervous? Of course you are. You're human. Are you worried? Probably. Are you more on edge than you used to be? Of course you are. Because just like with that young black man who's worried about who's in the Ku Klux Klan, you don't know who's a part of Black Power or some Black Panther group that wants to kill you. You have no idea of knowing. All you know is that the members of those groups are black. Just like the African American man knew that the Ku Klux Klan guys are white. I don't know who they are. I just know that they might be them and they might be wanting to hurt me. And so now, The white police officers are on edge. They're worried about their safety. Why? Because of common sense. And what does that mean? Among other things, profiling. I'll be right back. I've got to talk more about it because it's not just cops. It's you. It's me. This is American terrorism. Remember that. This is terrorism, and I'll explain that as well. Don't go away. This news cycle is bound together not only by the death of the police in Dallas, but by the shooting of the driver in Minnesota, in which an African-American man was killed by a Hispanic officer. The Hispanic officer saw him and thought that he met the description of somebody who had been involved in an armed robbery, pulled him over, and then told him, do not reach for your gun. He said, I'm a permit carrying, a concealed carry permit man. We don't know what happened. The officer says it was the way he reached for his gun, and he shot him and killed him. And the woman in the car turned on her some type of streaming device and caught the conversation in the aftermath. The governor of the state of Minnesota said that he probably wouldn't have been shot. The perpetrator or the man in the car, the driver, probably wouldn't have been shot if he wasn't black. Now this, of course, enraged law enforcement people. Because what this governor was saying is that, well, he was profiling. But he really wasn't saying that. What he was saying was he was racist. But here's the rub, people. If you look at what happened in Ferguson, and if you look at what then happened in Dallas, and you look at the ongoing verbal threats, the chatter online, the cyberspace accounts where they're talking about killing white cops, and people are making statements like pigs in a blanket. In other words, let's kill them. Let's put police in burial cloths. Do you understand me? So let's say that the officer, the Hispanic officer who pulled over the black man, was in fact nervous. Uh-oh. He meets the description of somebody who just committed an armed robbery. He's going for a gun. And the cop says, I told him keep his hands away from the gun, and he wouldn't listen to me, so I shot him. Maybe he didn't need to shoot him. Maybe it was total overreaction. We may never know. We may never know. But the point is this, and this is an ugly point, that people are not going to want to ponder publicly, but they're pondering it in their heart. And that is, maybe the policeman was afraid in part because he was black. Just like black men were afraid in part because they saw white people with a gun. Maybe a white person coming out of a hardware store with a rope just terrified a black man. Because he thought, what is he going to do with that rope? Maybe he's just a farmer who needs a rope. But maybe he's part of the Ku Klux Klan and he's going to hang me or my friends. So this dynamic is getting worse in America, not better, in part because of idiots like Jesse Jackson and Barack Obama. Now, words matter. They do. They do. Jesse Jackson said, he's relieved if he's walking down the street and he hears footsteps behind him at night and he turns around and he finds out that it's a white person, not a black person. He's relieved because statistically he's way more likely to get attacked by a group of young black men in Washington, D.C. So Jesse Jackson piped up and tried to blame, from Europe, he pipes up and tries to blame Trump for what happened in Dallas, because of the ratcheting up the racist rhetoric. So Hillary Clinton, when this poor soul, this poor man got shot up in Minnesota, Hillary Clinton tweets out, Black Lives Matter. Well, Bernie Sanders had the pulpit taken away from him, the podium taken away, because he dared to say that all lives matter. And they do. Jesus died for all human lives. The reason that we have value, innate value, is because we're made in the image of God. We're the special creation of God, and we have souls, eternal souls, and because Christ died for us. So all lives matter. But if you get the podium taken away from you because you dare to say all lives matter, and it's black people saying, no, black lives matter, guess what those black people are? They're racists. We have to just start saying it. We have to start breaking through the politically correct, insane barrier and just say up front, they're racist. Because they're saying that this group of people, these white people, are the threat. Therefore, they're racist because they're making a race decision. So what they've successfully done is help fuel the flames of racism and profiling and distrust and bigotry, whatever you want to call it, because they are screaming their lungs out. Black lives matter and white people are the problem. Black lives matter and white cops are the problem. Kill white cops. Whoa, 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 whoa. So now what happened in Dallas, which is the culmination of some of this stress, and there's going to be more, you better believe that white cops are going to be profiling more openly. And you would too if you were a white cop. Just like if you were a black man in the 1920s or the 1950s in Mississippi and you saw a group of white men, you thought maybe they're in the Ku Klux Klan, you'd be profiling and you'd be afraid with just cause, even if none of them were in the Klan and none of them wanted to harm you. It's the way the human mind works. When we come back, I'm going to play a clip from Sheriff Clark from Madison County up in Wisconsin. He had some things to say to President Obama and to Jesse Jackson and about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. This is just worth watching. I'll be right back. Fear. Fear. That's what Black Lives Matter protesters and Black Panthers and Black Power people, they want white people to fear. That's what they want. That's the goal of terrorism, by the way. A change of public policy or a change of behavior in the living because of the treatment of the dead. All right? Or acts of brutality. Always remember that. Terrorism is not for the dead. Terrorism is for the living. It's to provoke a change of behavior, of policy, whatever. So we have a commander-in-chief, God save us. God save us. We have a commander-in-chief who is living out continually with his statements to the press this narrative that there has never been equal justice. White cops, there's a preponderance of violence against black people. He doesn't want to deal with the black-on-black crime in Chicago or in St. Louis, right? He doesn't want to focus on the cheapness of life inside of the African-American community with each other. He just wants to continue this narrative that white people, white cops especially, really are the bad guys, and he's fueling the crisis. And he knows it. He knows it. Don't kid yourself. He knows it. Is it that he's bitter? I mean, I don't even know why. I can't see inside of his dark heart. But it's not the color of Obama's skin. It's the fiber, the character of his brain and his soul that are the crisis. So there's a very famous African-American sheriff from Madison County in Wisconsin who shows up on Fox fairly regularly. Very articulate, brilliant man. Listen to his words to Obama, Jesse Jackson, and about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
President Obama, it's kind of interesting that he said the facts aren't in. He usually is popping off at the mouth before he's been briefed or before he knows any of the facts. You know, like he did yesterday without any foundation. He talked about racism and disparate treatment and people of color, all this nonsense. Like I said, he's armed with powerful words, and he uses those words irresponsibly. It fuels this sort of anger toward the American police officer, and I wish he'd knock it off.
We have other black leaders like Reverend Jesse Jackson overnight right after these attacks on a London radio show saying that Donald Trump and the rise of ultra-conservative groups are to blame for this rhetoric in this country and the violence that we're seeing. What do you say to Reverend Jackson this morning?
I say nothing to Reverend Jackson. Reverend Jackson's another one of these blowhards whose time has passed and he's still trying to stay relevant, and so he talks like that. But I'll tell you right now, nobody in the country that's running for president right now, and there's only two people left, has stood behind and beside the American law enforcement officer like Donald Trump. I cannot wait till January 20th, I believe, 2017, when President Obama leaves the White House for the last time. And my hope, I pray, that Donald J. Trump becomes the next commander-in-chief, because we need a president who's going to stand beside us and support us all across the country, unambiguously, by the way, and we know we're not going to get that out of Mrs. Bill Clinton. I think the saddest day for law enforcement will be if she were to become the president of the United States.
Sheriff, you mentioned...
So, as you can see, this is not about race. It's about ethics. It's about morals. And it's also about statistics, okay? The reason that people profile is not simply a knee-jerk reaction because of bigotry. It is, however, about the statistical likelihood of a certain person fitting a certain profile. I'll be right back. So, are you a racist? If you're white and you see a group of young black men approaching you and you're afraid, does that make you a racist? If you're a young black male and you're pulled over by a white cop and you're afraid, does that make you a racist? The part of this that is so disturbing and almost deplorable is that we can't have equity in the logic or in the argument. See, the politically correct, the shackled politically correct, whose brains are in the freeze frame, they believe that white people can be racist towards blacks, but that black people cannot be racist towards white. That's stupid. It's so offensive. It's so stupid. And part of what we need to do is to ridicule stupidity. All right? When Elijah confronted the prophets of Baal, read 1 Kings chapter 18. The prophets of Baal thought that Baal was a god, which he wasn't, and they thought that if they cut themselves and danced, that Baal would answer with fire and come and burn the sacrifice, which he didn't, because it was all based on a lie. And Elijah mocked them. Yeah, surely Baal's a god. He's probably on a trip. Maybe he's sleeping and you can't wake him. Maybe he's going to the bathroom and he can't be disturbed. That's what Elijah did. He mocked him. So there is a time for us to cut through some of this. Yes, there is horrible violence. Yes, there has been horrifying injustice in the past. Slavery was a crime against God and man. And segregation, Jim Crow laws were an offense to heaven. But we're not there anymore. We have a black president. Can't we get this? Can't we understand? And the people that are fueling and stoking the rage and the hatred and the bitterness that is 150 years old, there's something wrong with them. There is an agenda that they have that is not based simply in today, okay? There is a bitterness and unforgiveness. There's something evil at work. And now the very thing that they say they hate, racism, they're fueling. And so what responsibility do they bear in this insane, violent moment?